10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right. Hello, everybody. And thank you for joining me. That's right. This is Michael Voss, your dragon of the Southern Tier, and this is the Exceptional Conservative Network that we are on. We're happy to have you here with us once again for the show. It's always good to have you here. I appreciate you. I thank you for being our fans and checking us out. Whether it's the first time or it's always, whether you're live or seeing us on Facebook or YouTube after the fact, we want to hear from you. Please be involved. I want to hear your voice. Now, we have a great show today. A lot of things are going to be happening here. We've got a lot of stuff to discuss, and we're going to get into it. A lot of breaking news that's happening. Now, I do want to mention first, of course, if you are in the Binghamton area, especially for tomorrow, and I'll be explaining that in a second, do drop by my friends at the Belmar Pub or over at the Park Diner. They're both in Binghamton. They are friends of mine. This is not a paid advertisement. I go to both establishments. I enjoy the food, the drinks, great service. I advise it. Please do check it out. With that said, seems like my screen's frozen for a second here. There we go. Let me explain some of the breaking news that's going on. First of all, if you're going to be in the Binghamton area tomorrow, over at SUNY Broome, that is one of the colleges here in the Binghamton Broome County area, they will be having the Homeless Awareness Sleep Out tomorrow. That's right, the Homeless Awareness Sleep Out, which will be tomorrow, May 17th. It'll be starting, the event starts before 5 p.m., but it will continue until 8 a.m. on the 18th. Let me explain exactly what that means. The event, and I'll be speaking at the event tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. And I did this in 2018. I was at the event, and some people maybe remember that. It was covered by, this was News 40, I believe, Fox 40 in the region, and we had talked about it. This is to make people aware about homelessness, both for students and for the general population. There are over 1,700 people, as of 2017, over 1,700 people in the southern tier of New York that are homeless. Many of them are students, many of them are families. And that's just huge. There's easily about 300 children that are homeless. And we want to get that down, but many people don't hear about that. They don't know about that. They aren't aware of how big the numbers are. And these are huge numbers. And it really has a big impact on people's lives. And so I had gone there last year, and I had spoken with them, and the students spend an entire evening, they spend the day out in the open air to try and get an understanding of what it is to be homeless. And that's rain or shine, and they go and do that. And it's a great experience for them to understand, to get a taste of the understanding of what it is to be like someone who is homeless for whatever reason, whether it's mental illness, loss of a job, depression. There's so many things that could happen in a person's life that will make them homeless. And as many people may know, I myself have been homeless twice in my life. So I understand very directly what that impact is and how it can affect your life. And that's one of the reasons why I'm speaking at the event tomorrow. And I do advise people, come on down, check this out, be involved, donate to the various charities that will be there to help those who are homeless. Because it can happen to any of us. It's happened to many of us. And in your lifetime, it could happen to you or someone that you know and love. And most people in that situation, they just need a little bit of help to get them back on their feet, to get them back on track so that they can get back to their productive lives. And to help those kids, the children who are homeless through no fault of their own and have to deal with it. That little bit of help, whether it's, helping them get a meal, stay somewhere warm, or just giving an opportunity to get a job and to restart their lives. It's a very important thing. I support it absolutely, and that's why I'm going to be there tomorrow at 4:30. Probably a little bit before that, I'll be speaking, and I am full support of this. I do advise people to, if you don't know about it, please let others know about it, check it out, and help support this. So that's one of the items in the breaking news that we definitely want to address. In addition to that, there is some other breaking news that's going on, but I do want to show this again just so you see it. It's with SUNY Broome College in the Broome County in Binghamton, New York. You can go there and check it out. It's the 10th annual Homeless Awareness Sleep Out. It will be in the Student Quad Center. A phone number to call in reference to find out more details is 607-778-5681. Please do check it out. Please do spread the word about this. So there's a lot of news that's going on today. And oops, wrong thing. And one of the things that I want to really focus on today, and I'm always listening for your voices, by the way. Please let us know that you're out there. I always check to see who's texting me or on Facebook or on whether it's on Twitter or you're just in the chat room. Let us know what's going on. Please, I love your interaction. At the moment, if you're trying to reach us by email, you won't be able to reach us. And that's only because the email is down right now. And your donations make the difference. Please, if you can, donate to us. It helps. It helps a lot. It makes a difference. I want to get my email back up so I can respond to all the things that are out there. And you can help donate to that if you wish. $1, $2, it doesn't matter. Whatever the amount. You can go to the GoFundMe, and that helps us directly. Our goal is $5,000 for this year. Please, anything you can do that will help us, we do appreciate that. And you can see just below me here is the link where you can go and make that donation. But that's not the news. What the news is, and we're going to start off with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, shame on her. We're talking Game of Thrones, shame on her. She's such well, she's got issues. She's got lots of issues. And that's because she's just losing on the on the 2020 presidential race. She's in trouble. And we were going back to one of my favorite things, the Predict It. It's one of the nicer things to see out there, just see how average people are looking at this and where they're putting their money on it. And if you look at this, checking it out, obviously Joe Biden is the big winner right now. He's got about double the position of Bernie Sanders, the next closest. Then you see Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren. And while Andrew Yang and Beto O'Rourke seem to be doing well, actually, if you're looking at the national data, you would see that Cory Booker is doing better than both of them, and they're basically out of the race at this moment. And way down, though, is Kirsten Gillibrand. She's almost out this race. She's down there with Andrew Cuomo and Hillary Clinton. Now, why does that make a big deal? And why do I say that we're seeing that Kirsten Gillibrand, her campaign is all but done, that she is out of this race? Well, because she's relying right now on Cory Booker. And this is being reported by Politico. Politico put this out on the 16th, today, May 16th, at 7:30 a.m., that the Booker campaign, Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, has come out and they are officially asking people to make donations and to give support to Senator Gillibrand so that she can be in the debates coming up in a month for the 2020 candidates, that she is that far out. And their article goes into a lot of things, but the big thing is that there are 20 spots. There's officially 23 candidates, the big candidates for the Democratic Party for the 2020 nomination. And Gillibrand apparently has not met the needs of having both polling over 2% and the number of donors, 65,000, to be able to get onto that stage, which means she's failing. Her campaign is lagging. She's basically done. And she was one of the first ones. I mean, she went out, and I think part of this is the fact that she went out, she lied to New Yorkers. She lied to her constituents, saying that she was going to serve her full 6-year term in the Senate. And the very week after she won the re-election, she went over to New Hampshire and she's running for president, and came out and told people she's running for president, directly contradicting her promise. And obviously a lot of people, including myself, remember that and say, well, if you can't be honest in something as simple as making a promise about whether you're going to run or not run, it's very simple. And if you lied to people, knowing full well what you were going to do, what would you do as a president? And she's getting the reaction. And that's why she's not getting as much support. And that isn't just with predicted. Don't think that's the only source that's saying this. If we actually look at what's going on throughout the nation, and I'm going to look at one of the great sources, I believe, for this is Real Clear Politics. They look at everything, the nonpartisan as you get. And if you're looking at the Real Clear Politics, looking at their 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, and their listing of the Democratic candidates in the polling data, which doesn't include De Blasio, and I'll get to him in a second. But if you're looking at that, you'll see that for Kirsten Gillibrand, she's really out of this race. I mean, on a national average at this moment, she has 0.8% interest. 0.8% of Democrats, 0.8 in the polling. That's not even close to the 2% margin. She's out of this race. She's done. And that's partially because she has nothing to say. She has nothing to do and give people. The most that she had was she's a senator and she's into gender identity politics, like most of the candidates. But that doesn't make her separate, doesn't make her better. All she can say is, I'm the candidate for women. I want to be the mom of America or the grandmother of America. Well, fantastic. I'm glad that that's what you want to do. Has nothing to do with really what's going on in the nation. Does that help us with our negotiations with Iran? No, because they don't care. In fact, Iran hates women for the most part. So that's not going to help us. And they hate Democrats. They hate Americans overall. So that's not going to help America. Is her ideas about taxes, are that going to help anyone? Look at New York State. We're driving people out of the state because of the Democratic policies, the far left policies in the state that she supports. That's not going to help anyone. The $15 minimum wage has been destroying businesses in New York State, and she supports that. So what's the emphasis for someone to actually support Senator Kirsten Gillibrand? Nothing. She's, on top of that, looking at the gender identity politics of the Democratic Party, she's on the lowest end of the totem pole. She's a white woman, which puts her above white males, but below black anyone and any other woman. So that doesn't bode well for her. The very politics that she's trying to support are the very politics that are saying that she shouldn't be in the race and that she should be ignored or by other Democrats. This is their policy, their rules, their motivations, and they're telling us that she's not important. And that's why we're seeing, when you look at Real Clear Politics, the average, I mean, even in the very best polls out there, the most she's getting is based on a CNN poll from April 25th. April 25th was the CNN poll, and that only had her at 2%. And she's, in many races and in many polls, she's polling at 0, maybe 1%. That's no interest. Now, that's kind of interesting because with 23 candidates in this race, I think I understand what the Democratic position, the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, they've already said that they want to move to the left, the far left. They want to become more like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They want to become more like Bernie Sanders. They want to be democratic socialists. So socialism is the big push. And part of that big push is being part of the gender identity politics that doesn't care who you are. It cares about where you fit in that category. So even a yes woman like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who just follows the party line politics and is gung-ho for everything in the party. She says yes to everything that's in the Democratic Party. She doesn't get to go anywhere because she's not important. Her category is she's a rich white woman. And so therefore, she really has no importance. This is gender identity politics in action. Even for leaders in the Democratic Party, they're worthless. And they throw people on the side. Now, I think that all these 23 different Democrats, and I've said this before, but I want to get it said again, they're really in the race just to grab money. So they have candidates that are in every little category that they have. Okay, a candidate for the blacks, a candidate for Hispanics, a candidate for if you're gay, a candidate for, not yet transgender, but I'm sure that's coming. So they got a candidate for all these little micro categories, and they're taking in money from all of them, and they're requiring, and they're telling everyone, well, your candidate has to have 65,000 donors, and you have to donate at least $200 to each one of them for that candidate to even be considered on the stage, the 20 spots that are available, to be able to be in the debates. So that's giving. You got to give money. You got to give money. You got to give money. As these candidates are going to drop off, all of that money is going to be going to the Democratic National Committee and to all the other candidates that remain. They're going to be pooling that money. And then whoever's the final couple of candidates are going to have all that money, whether or not you agree with any of their issues, and they're going to use that to go against President Donald Trump. Because they don't believe that any one candidate's able to raise enough money to have an effective campaign. So they're using their own members to be able to draw in money. And the idea is, well, when Kirsten Gillibrand drops out of the race, it's okay. All the women will just switch over to either Elizabeth Warren or to Kamala Harris. Because, you still got to support, if your gender identity gender politics is your big thing, well, we still have someone for that category. We still have that box filled. We have a candidate for that. So you're just going to automatically switch over. It doesn't matter if you don't agree with the politics of Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren. It doesn't matter because she's a woman. So you're just going to automatically go there. And that basically says that the Democratic Party believes that you're a drone and you'll just move to wherever they tell you to. You'll do whatever they say because you have no choice in it. It doesn't matter if you like this candidate or not. You're not voting on them because of that person, their personality and their qualifications. No. You're filling a box. And as long as we have someone for that box, you can go in there. And that's kind of sad. And that's why we're seeing that Cory Booker is out there and he's trying to pump up his numbers, which are not very good. He's right at 2.3%. So he's barely able to get on the stage, although he does have enough both polls and donors to be there. But he's bumping up his numbers by using her. Remember, he's already said that his vice president will be a woman. And he's guaranteed that. And he's looking for the boxes. How many boxes can he fill? Well, he's got the race portion of that identity portion, because he's black. The fact that he's also a self-admitted sexual abuser, he's mentioned this in his own book, how he assaulted a woman sexually. So that's a problem from him. Oops. He's already mentioned that, but he needs more help. Oops, sorry about that. So what does that leave us with? Well, he needs women. He needs a way to get women back on his side. And what better way than to pick on a woman who's failing and needs his support and therefore needs him. She's in his pocket at this point. If he's able to get her onto that stage, she owes him a favor. This is politics in action. This is Democratic politics in action. She owes Cory Booker. If she shows up on that stage, she has to do him a favor. And what better favor than to be his vice president, his vice presidential nominee, and to back him up and to give him the support and give him a few more boxes of support as he goes forward in the nomination. You may disagree, but it seems to make sense to me. It seems to fit everything. Cory Booker isn't doing this because he thinks that Kirsten Gillibrand has something important to say. She's saying the same thing everyone else is saying. He's not saying it because she's particularly great. Otherwise, he wouldn't be running against her. He would be supporting her. No. He's not supporting her because he thinks anything special about her. He needs her money. He needs her favor. He needs her to support and fill in more boxes, more categories of Democrats so that they can just vote for that category, which means they vote for him. It's kind of insidious, and it's kind of crazy. So I don't know what to think about that. I think it's kind of insulting myself. I think that if that's what it takes for the Democratic Party, that they're going to make deals. And very obviously, this is a deal being made in front of everyone in the nation. Cory Booker saying, you owe me, Kirsten Gillibrand. My campaign is going to raise money for you. They're going to get you voters so you can show up on the stage, and now you owe me. You can't be president, and because your ability is locked into me, Cory Booker. I mean, it's Machiavellian, quite honestly, and it's kind of funny. But it's also kind of sad that we're seeing this happening right before our faces with all these candidates. And this is happening with the lowest of the low. Cory Booker at 2.3% barely makes it onto the stage, and Kirsten Gillibrand. And when you put it together, even if they work together in unison, that only moves them up to 3.1%. That still keeps them behind Beto O'Rourke, a person who, as we've talked about in some of the other episodes, is losing attention. Matter of fact, if I show you the chart here, which is from Real Clear Politics, and if you look at it, you'll see that, Beto O'Rourke, he's been dropping. His attention, his importance in this race is dropping straight down. There's less people who care about what he has to say all the way. So that's kind of sad. That's really sad. But I think it's a really big statement about what's going on in our politics right now and what's the state of the Democratic Party right now, that we're seeing these kind of obvious deals for no other reason than Machiavellian reasons, just for their self-importance, their self-aggrandizement, their personal agenda. It doesn't really help anyone, any of the individuals out there. I don't know, maybe it's me, but I just see that as being a really bad thing. But there's a lot more news that's breaking. So it's not just that Kirsten Gillibrand is basically out of this race and she owes big-time favors, and she's being used by Cory Booker, of all people, to move Cory Booker into a better position, which is really sad. So not only is that going on, but we have a lot of other issues that are actually, there's more breaking news. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of that in just a moment. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with more of the show and more of the breaking news that's coming out today. All right, folks, it's good to be back with you. This is Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, and I'm happy to have you on. I apologize. It seems the video, a little break there, had some technical glitches, and I apologize for the technical glitches. It does happen from time to time. Technology, what can I say? But that's why I always help. I always ask you. Your help makes the difference in everything. That's why we do look forward and hope that you can help us with your donations. Of course, they are always important, whether it's $1, whether it's $2. If it's like some of the people like John Solak or Robert Murphy and Ed Hickey and Jared, who've done such great things to help us out, we advise you, help whatever you can. It all makes a difference, and we do thank you for that. Help us get our email back on, keep the lights on. It all comes from you, and we thank you, and we appreciate whether it's even just liking this, sharing it. It all makes a difference, and we do appreciate it. I also want to take a moment to thank my friends who are over at the Belmar Pub and the Park Diner here in Binghamton. Great establishments. They're great people, and I enjoy being with them all the time. I love their establishments, and I advise you, check it out. Those are friends of mine. That's not a paid advertisement. I just enjoy them, and I think you will too. But as I promised before the break, there is breaking news coming out. Besides the fact that we've seen that Kirsten Gillibrand is about to get out of the race, she's basically done because she needs the help of Cory Booker, her competitor, to even be in the race, which is just pure Machiavellian politics going on. I think all the poli-sci students should be checking this out. It's so incredible. But beyond that, let's look at what else is going on here. Beyond the fact that there's the SUNY Broome homeless awareness event tomorrow at 4:30 that I'll be speaking at. I advise you to come down, check it out, look on in the news for it. But no, there's more news that's coming out right now, and that is that we're going to see Bill De Blasio is now a candidate for the for the 2020 presidential race. That's right. The mayor of New York City is now in the race. Bill De Blasio himself. Wow. That's just amazing to me. And I have to tell you, it's amazing because look at what the New York Post has to say about it. The news just came out 5 hours ago. And already the New York Post put it out. De Blasio runs for president. And everyone is laughing. That's what the New York Post has to say about it on their front page on their late city final edition. Right after the news came out that Bill De Blasio wants to run for the 2020 presidential race. President Trump has already said that this is a joke, and I have to tell you, it really is. What does Bill De Blasio bring to the 2020 race that doesn't already exist? We know that what he does bring is he is another old white man. That is a fact. He is another old white man in the race. So that's wonderful news, right? If you really care about the gender and identity politics, he's a rich old white man, which according to gender identity politics is the worst thing you could possibly have, running the Democratic Party or being a president. And yet that's exactly what he is, and that's what he's offering. So that's got to be depressing to a lot of Democrats, I would think. And when you look at this, would that put him up there with Biden and Bernie Sanders, two other old white men that are leading the party right now? Biden in particular by double. Bernie Sanders, his next closest choice, and almost 4 times as much as Warren or anyone else in the race. It kind of says a lot about what's going on in Democratic politics right now. And I look at Biden, when I look at De Blasio and this news announcement, I have to agree with the New York Post. They got it right. This is a joke. This is a major joke. And you say to yourself, well, Mike, why is it a joke? What's so funny about this? Well, if you happen to look at Quinnipiac, the polling for the Quinnipiac poll, they do polls, national polls about races and all the major issues that are affecting not just New York State, but the nation as a total, and how New York state is reacting to that? Well, if you look at the most recent polling from April 3rd of 2019, the Quinnipiac poll asked New Yorkers, would you like to see Bill De Blasio run for president in 2020 or not? That was the question they asked. And the answer was 76% of New York said no. They don't want Bill De Blasio running in the race, that they didn't like Bill De Blasio. Only 18% said yes. And that's 21%. Only 21% of Democrats said that they think that Bill De Blasio would be a good choice. That's horrible. And it gets even worse. If you're looking at just in New York City, only 27% of the Bronx, 15% of Brooklyn, 14% of Manhattan, 20% of Queens, 13% of Staten Island. That's all that said yes, they think that Bill De Blasio is a good choice. I mean, it's 70% across the board or worse that say no, Bill De Blasio is just not a good choice for the 2020 presidential election. If you're looking at the question, they also asked, would Bill De Blasio, mayor of New York, be a good thing for New York City? Would it even be good just on the city level? Just on the city level. And the answer that they got back about that was 41% said no. 43%. Just in the Bronx alone. But in the city, 47% said no, this would be bad. This would be a bad thing for New York City. So New York City, that know Bill De Blasio the very best, are coming out and saying in droves that they think this is a horrible idea, that Bill De Blasio running for president is the worst thing you can do. And that kind of brings me back to what we think about with Kirsten Gillibrand. The majority of people in the state of New York don't think this is a good choice. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans, they think this is a horrible idea. That's for our senator. And here in New York City, they're saying it's a horrible idea, that this is the worst thing. In fact, there was a MSNBC, one of the least right-leaning organizations you can put out there in the news media, went out and asked the public live, what did they think? What was the reaction of average people on the street of New York City over on 14th Avenue? They were out there and at the train station, and they're asking people, hey, what do you think about this? People are laughing on air, laughing. They're saying it's a joke, that this should have come out on April 1st because it's such a big joke, that this is a horrible choice for the nation. Why did Bill De Blasio decide that this late in the game, a month before he has to be able to get onto the stage, not having the support? I don't understand. What's going on in the Democratic Party that someone decides, hey, I'm rich, so I should run. There's the answer. I'm rich, so I should run. I run New York City. His thing is I run New York City. New York City hates him. New York City doesn't think he's a good candidate. New York City is telling the rest of the nation, don't put this man into the race for the presidency, and yet he's running anyway. I don't understand. That's ego. That's just ego. And that's a thing we see with a lot of these candidates for the presidential race, the nomination amongst the Democrats. A lot of them are just, I don't know what they're thinking. But I have to tell you, when I look at people like Buttigieg, this is just ego. He's just there because he's a gay man. He has no issues that are really important. When you look at Yang, who's at 0.8%, he has nothing to offer. No one's paying attention to him. No one cares. Why is he in the race? Inslee at 0.7%. No one even knows who Inslee is. Gabbard. Have you even heard anything about Gabbard? Castro? Klobuchar? You don't even hear about them because they have nothing to offer. but yet they're in the race. And now we have Bill De Blasio, officially number 23 out of some 33 people. He's not even in the predicted charts. Predicted doesn't even have him listed as a possible candidate. That's just crazy. That is really crazy. And so when I'm looking at this, I have to say, gee, what does Bill De Blasio bring to the public in a race? And the answer for that is he brings minimum wage. He brings the $15 minimum wage. That's his big thing. He wants to make a $15 minimum wage for New York City. And that's one of his big claims to fame, that he was going to make sure that New York City was able to have, and we see this article from, NewYorkCity.gov. Mayor de Blasio announces guaranteed $15 minimum wage for all city government employees, benefiting 50,000 additional New Yorkers. That was from January 6th of 2016. He then went on to push for the $15 minimum wage for workers in New York City. And that was for the fast food workers in New York City. It was a big deal. Everyone was screaming about it. In 2018, it was a big push by unions and by Democrats that you have to have the $15 minimum wage for a living wage, something that we've seen done in Seattle. We've seen it done across cities throughout the nation. And just like every single city that has done it before, just like what the CBO promised us in 2016, what we see is that it has hurt every single person. And in the form, there was actually an article from Forbes, Massachusetts and New York beginning to see the ugly side of minimum wage hikes. That was from April 6th of 2019. You can look it up. And in that article, they say, quote, the result, meaning the $15 minimum wage increase, the result, close to 3/4 of restaurants in New York City have cut labor since the minimum wage was raised to $15 per hour. That's according to a survey by New York City Hospitality Alliance. Specifically, 76.5% of full-service restaurant respondents said they had a cut to employee hours. 36% said they cut jobs in 2018 in response to the mandatory minimum wage hikes. And that goes right along with the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, which shows that New York City full-service restaurant employees has gone from 8% growth in 2012 to a negative 2% growth in the last 2 years. People are losing jobs. And again, this is from the article by Forbes magazine on April 6, 2019, Massachusetts and New York beginning to see the ugly side of minimum wage hikes. This is what Bill De Blasio brings to the table. He brings a loss of jobs. He brings a New York City recession in jobs. That's what he brings. That's what you have to look forward to. This is his campaign promise. I'm going to give everybody $15 an hour wage rise, which means you're going to have less jobs. More taxes, less jobs. That's what New York State has done. They've increased the minimum wage, increased taxes, driven people out of the state. People are leaving New York City. Population is going down. And people who get this minimum wage are in identity politics. This is what you get from social justice. This is what you get from political correctness. Political correctness brings you a loss of jobs. And this is what we see. This is the main issues that are coming from Bernie, that are coming from Sanders, that are coming from Harris, from O'Rourke, Booker, Gillibrand. That's what they're offering. And realistically, most of the nation doesn't want it. Most of the nation does not want to be democratic socialists. It's just not. Oops. Sorry. Whoop. Sorry about that. It seems the system dropped for a second there. We're having some technology issues today. I think it's the internet connection. I don't think it's anything else, but it's just really messing with us right now. And I apologize if any of it got cut off. But this is what you're getting from gender identity politics. This is what you're getting from social justice. This is what you're getting from democratic socialism. You're getting higher taxes, less hours, less work, less pay. At the end of the day, you're making less. You're not getting more, you're getting less. It sounds like you're getting more because it's $15 an hour. Wow. The pay is up 34% since 2017. 2016. You're making, way more money, except you work less, if you can work at all. And the gender identity politics is not helping people. It's not meant to. It's meant to make you say, well, this isn't fair. I don't feel like this is fair. How can we make this fair? And the government goes, well, what we'll do is we'll redistribute someone else's wealth. We will take away from the people who are working. We will take away from people who are making money and actually living, and we'll give it to people who can't, so that you're dependent on the government for your livelihood, so that you can't vote them out of office because they're the only ones who are giving you the money to be able to live. And now you become dependent on the government. It is basically going back to the old peasant days of the Middle Ages, where the political elites are quasi-nobles and everyone else are peasants. It's an economic slavery, quite honestly. That's what it is. You're dependent on them because they're giving you money. I mean, when we look at Andrew Yang, he comes out and says it directly. He wants to pay people. We heard it from in December of 2018. We heard it from Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris directly herself. Said she wanted to pay everyone $650. Everyone who's poor, she will pay them $650 per month to be poor. Really? She's paying people to be poor. So it's more advantageous to stay poor than to have a better life with Kamala Harris. And Andrew Yang is saying the same thing. If you qualify, if you're poor enough, he's going to give you an extra $1,000 a year. $1,000 a month. He's going to give you an extra $12,000 just because you're poor. And the poorer you are, the more you get. And if you're not poor enough, well, you don't get $12,000, you get less. But he's going to give you this free money. Free money. Trillions of dollars that has... Where are the trillions of dollars coming from? It would be over $3 trillion a year. Our government spends $4 trillion already. He would add another $3 trillion, nearly doubling the national debt. The annual deficit. And where's that money coming from? It comes from you. It comes from your taxes. It comes from your jobs and businesses that would have to be forced to close, just like they're doing with the $15 minimum wage. Where is that coming from? Well, we see it with Bill De Blasio. And we see this effect every single time, whether it's Seattle or whether it's in New York. It's always the same result. And people say, oh, well, you just don't understand. You're just an evil Republican. You're just an evil conservative. And yet, every time that they come back, they say, oh, you just don't understand. We're going to do it better. We figured out how to do it. It's not going to have the same result like in Seattle, where 30% of all the businesses closed because they couldn't afford it. No. It's not going to be like in New York State, where $3 trillion left the state. $3 billion left the state. We're losing money. We're losing taxes because we're losing population, because we've lost at least 1.5 million. And the only way that New York State can prop itself up and hold itself is by saying, no, we must count the illegal aliens so that we have enough numbers to hide the fact that it may be as much as 1.8, maybe 2 million people have actually left the state. That actual citizens are leaving in droves because they're losing their freedom, financial and personal. And they can't stand New York State. That the reaction to Governor Cuomo saying, if you don't like it, get out, and people are. And when they leave, there's nothing left. That's the big thing. The Democrats are promising everything under the sun. And they have no way of being able to follow up because you can't give everyone everything. And there's always a consequence for giving people free stuff because it has to be paid by someone. And now Bill De Blasio's in the race to promise more free stuff. He's right there with Andrew Yang. He's right there with Kamala Harris. He's right there with the gender and identity politics, the democratic socialism of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders. And none of them have a movement that's actually, the mainstream doesn't really believe in this. We see that in poll after poll when we ask people about these questions honestly and tell them, what does it actually cost? Yeah, it sounds great. Free stuff's great. By the way, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it in more taxes. You're going to pay for it in having less jobs and working less time and having actually less than what you're starting with and less freedom. That you're going to be at the whim of whoever decides your category today is better or worse. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, and I'm a Republican conservative, so maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I just don't get it. I don't know. I've lived in a Soviet-style communist nation. I've seen it. 75 years. The longest running, most successful socialist government ever was the Soviet Union. 75 years of socialism. And we saw that 75 years of socialism led to only one thing: the oppression of the people. They weren't more free. They weren't more productive. They didn't have a higher quality of life. That is a fact. And people say, well, no, we're going to do it better. And everyone since the Soviet Union has been doing it is that every time they say, well, we can do it better. Right. And the most recent attempt to do it better is Venezuela. And Venezuela is running its own citizens over. It's shooting its own citizens in cold blood because they don't have any rights, because they don't have any jobs, because they don't have any economy. And everyone is running from Venezuela. And when they run from Venezuela, where do they run to? They run to America. You know, we hear all these democratic socialists and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Governor Andrew Cuomo saying America was never great. If America was never great, why is everyone coming here? Why are they running to us from the very socialism that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders are trying to give us? They want us to become more like Venezuela, more like North Korea, more like China, more like the old Soviet Union. That's what they want us to become. And the people from all of those nations are trying to come here now. They want more of the American capitalist society. And if you're looking at this on an iPad, if you happen to be drinking from Starbucks, if you've ordered something off of Amazon, guess what? That's not because of socialism. Because none of those things were created in a socialist nation. That quality of life doesn't exist there. So I don't understand it. And I don't understand how Bill De Blasio thinks he's going to do well. But I would love to hear from any of the Democrats out there, any of the progressives, the progressive leaders of tomorrow, the Citizen Action, the Antifas. Please tell me how you think this is actually going to make things better. I wish Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could tell us how it's going to be better. How are they not going to? They love to give you these promises, but they don't give you details. How do you do this? How's it going to happen? I mean, I've heard Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez say that the Green New Deal, which she's mentioned that if you believe in it, well, you have the brain of a sea sponge, as we covered in a previous episode. That's her direct quote. She has said, if you believe in the Green New Deal, if you believe that the world's going to end in 12 years, unless there is the entire change of global warming and climate change, we have to change that. That has to be the focus of the entire world. And if you believe her, then, you have the brain of a sea sponge. That's what she said. I have to say, really, guys, how do you do that? And she doesn't have an answer except print money. Turn the nation to the Weimar Republic. Look it up if you don't know what it is. But turn it into the Weimar Republic would make the money worthless. Destroy the economy of the United States. Just like Bill De Blasio is doing with a $15 minimum wage. Just like Andrew Yang and Kamala Harris are promoting by just giving away, $15 minimum wage. Just like Governor Cuomo has been advocating, like Kirsten and Elizabeth Warren. I don't get this. I don't understand how the Democratic Party looks for these things and says, hey, this is the best answer we could possibly give you. The best option we can give you is to give up on all of the capitalism, give up all of the democracy, give up your freedom, and just be an economic slave to the state. And let the government have all the power, because the government's going to take care of you until the day that it doesn't. I don't understand that. How can that be appealing? Has our education system gone down that low? When we are watching people, literally 76% of New York are saying, do not support this man running for president. And he believes that because he's such a socialist, that he's so in love with giving people free stuff, quote unquote, that he is an excellent choice for president. That because he has enough money to sell his slogan and to put out TV ads, that he's going to do well. I don't understand it. Even as we actively watch Machiavellian politics take place, and we're seeing candidates within the Democratic Party manipulate other candidates for their own benefit, and yet people are saying, well, no, Democrats are better than everything. This is the best thing that we could possibly have. They're literally doing Machiavellian politics right in our faces. Cory Booker has made a public statement for his own benefit. He's using Kirsten Gillibrand. And Kirsten Gillibrand can't say no. If she says no, she's out of the race. She won't get onto the stage. She won't be able to talk, which means that people don't want her in the first place. So she shouldn't be there. This is not working well for anyone. I don't know. But maybe it's me. I don't know. But this is our show today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little different than a few other shows. I apologize for any of the technical issues that may have occurred. We look forward to seeing you. Again, please come out, if you can, tomorrow to help support the SUNY Broome College and their efforts to try and make people more aware of homelessness in the region. And we hope that you do come out. I will be speaking tomorrow at 4:30. The event goes from 5 p.m. until 8 a.m. from the 17th to the 18th. The phone number to reach for more details is 778-5681. Again, 607-778-5681. I hope you have a great day. I thank you always for being here with us on the Exceptional Conservative Network. My name is Michael Voss. This has been No Soundbites Allowed.